But the golden rule to make sure the sheet isn't on the wrong side, around the outside, is tack over sheet. So right there's the transition of red and white right here on the trampoline. So you'll notice the tack line's over the sheet. That's going to ensure that you have an inside jibe. If you're the other way around, and the sheet will be around the outside. So that's your little memorized tack over sheet rule. Is when you're hooking it up, make sure that the white is over the red in this case. So that you don't wait till you hoist it, the sheet's on the wrong side of the sail. Go wrong in the real world is that snap shackle has a big split ring on it. It could perhaps catch on something going by the hounds on the way up. So good insurance is to get some E-tape, just some electrical tape, put it around that shackle so that there's no way on earth that shackle can ever catch and open and drop your expensive, sail into the water, ruin the race and everything else. So that's just one little thing is shackles never open at the right time. When that opens, it could be bad. Anyway, there we go. That's me tape. It's great.
You're like the Vanna White of the.
Here's what
Oh, it's
tells
blue.
you whether it's going to be inside or outside jibe right there.
That's
Tack
great.
over sheet. Yep. Perfect. Okay, so refresh. The head of the sail is going to get to the spreader before the tack even moves an inch. So the first part of the hoist is the driver's job is to go dead downwind so that the sail does not get blown aft as he's hoisted into this magic triangle of the shroud and the mast. You have to wait till you actually feel the apparent wind drop. He goes around the offset mark, let's say, at the top, and he doesn't just turn a little bit. He turns so it feels really bad, like he's screwing up, and that's how the Spinnaker is going to go up quickly. So as soon as you feel and the driver's a good one to make this call, when he feels the apparent wind just dramatically drop, that means he's heading close to dead downwind. That's the time to start hoisting. If you get greedy and hoist early, the Spinnaker blows back here and gets all tangled up. Anyway, so let's say he's steering right, obviously. He's calling for the hoist, so that the halyard's going to go to the spreader. Nothing else is going to happen. We've already got, no, we don't have. We want the red line on the winch there, so it's just a soft set. Yep, there we go. So that's going to be one of the three corners we're separating on the hoist. That's already tied off. We're going to start the halyard. It's going to go to the spreaders, and then the tack line kind of follows the speed of the halyard. So the halyard's going up as fast as you can pull, but the tack line, if it gets greedy, it's going to go in the water. So the tack line has to kind of wait for the halyard to go and keep an eye on the foot. So let's just say we called the word hoist. Start keeping the tack line up.
Give it a little touch again. You're going in hard?
Yeah.
Trying to run it up, man.
No, it's like you got it set wrong. That's why it's pretty cool.
Okay, there is a little device you can do to help alleviate what we just saw happen. Obviously, that wasn't a Helmsman problem. There was no wind, and it still got caught in there. Just gravity goes straight up, and there's nothing blowing it away from the boat. There's no wind at all. So you can actually take a little shock cord in the shroud, you go around the forestay to the other shroud, makes a little triangle up there, and as long as you have the halyard outside that triangle, it'll actually pull the head of the sail around the outside of the shock cord instead of getting in that wedgie that it hit this time. The wedgie is kind of what we want to keep the head of the sail out of, which is the shroud to mast, V up there. So that's a little rigging thing you can put on there, just a little piece of shock cord, and it'll save that from happening, which we didn't do anything wrong, it just got stuck in there, right?
I have that up there, but I don't have it going around the forestay.
Yeah, it can go around the whole front. It's like a big triangle there. Just keeps it away from everything then.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's and then after that's up, we should have had a verbal. I like to have the guy in the halyard make that call to the driver when it's up. He might have a black mark. He might just see it. Whatever it takes. When he knows the halyard is actually up, that's the key moment for the driver to know that he can take a sharp left turn in this case pop the spinnaker filled, and off you go. If he turns early, it really makes it hard, especially about this size, to grind the halyard up the last 10 feet. So that saves the crew by having that audio call every time, so that the driver doesn't turn until he hears that. Okay. So I think you don't need to see me, you can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay, so that was the hoist. Any question on the hoist? Because I think that's pretty straightforward. The foot of the sail is dry, so the tack guy wasn't greedy, he didn't pull it too quickly. So that's kind of what you're not trying to have this thing be a shrimper. You don't want to go in the water. So the more dynamic thing is usually getting the sail back down, and that's this flew under the knee technique, and not being out there, not being up there, but weighing the back of the bus, however long the foot is to determine how far back you can go. But the bag boy is going to be back, so you can pull the foot tight with a tack being the last thing to be released. So step one is just turn downwind, wait till the wind drops, apparent wind, so the sail droops behind the sails, unpowers. Then there's communication between the halyard and the bag boy. The bag boy is going to start by grabbing the lazy sheet. So why don't you pull the real sheet just to show how to do it. So it's really flying, the sail's out there somewhere, but you can go ahead and grab the lazy sheet right there, and that's what he's going to pull. So as soon as the real sheet gets unloaded, because you're heading downwind, halyard starts coming down.
Go halyard.
Right here, I have to get to that foot. Make sure the foot goes tight. Now you're the bear hug, go tack. So exactly seen down the lead, there's no twist in the sail. You have to rehoist. Now we could be going around the mark already, and he's in control. And that's like he's going to go overboard. If it takes a little while, that's okay. We're going upwind now. We're not slowing the boat down as far as going on the leeward mark. That's a pretty big sail with just one guy, so that's kind of the technique. Don't forget the bear hug part where you really grab all that cloth, and that can spread out across the fore axle and reach the water.
The rest of the crew is standing here just watching him, thinking
That's
he
our
should do
job.
it faster.
We
Is
can
that
take pictures of
we're doing the right thing?
I hope they're doing their own stuff.
Could somebody please get a bucket of water and throw over me?
That's the other argument why we use the back on the other side, and the windward takedown for a function on port tack, and on starboard tack it's already on that side. So that way he's not underwater. We're going upwind right on port tack, so it's really nice to leave the drive on the port side of the boat so the bag boy's dry instead of wet. So he doesn't have those buckets of water like he's talking about.
Unless he
Going
decides
upwind.
to attack it right after the rounder.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He's
Yeah.
back in the water.
Right.
You're in the water. Thank you.
There's pretty much not enough crew to do a good tack anyway. We got a self-tacking jib, I guess you can. But anyway. Okay, any questions on the drop? So that's probably the most dynamic one that you maybe had problems on your own boat in the past that you have questions about why something went wrong.
Jim, they want to see it twice more.
What's that?
They want to see it 2 more times.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I'd complain about what the teamwork here did was to me the verbal was backwards. The tack line called the tack, but I really like to have the bag boy call when he thinks it's ready for the tack, because he thinks the bag boy has all the cloth and he doesn't, and he lets the tack go. It'll go right in the water and it ruins the whole show. So I like to have the bag boy be the verbal person that calls when he's ready. He's done his bear hug. He's really got the sail in his mind contained. Then he calls to blow the tack and not before, because that can really screw this whole thing up. You're in charge. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like when you're dousing halyard, like just open the clutch, let it rip, let it fall?
No,
Ease
he's doing his best job he can.
Yeah.
He's going as fast as he
Going
can.
as fast as they can.
And he's got to follow whatever he can actually do, not what he hopes he can do.
Yeah.
So don't just let the halyard go. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're just letting it down at whatever speed he's going down the lead. If he's going slow, the halyard's going slow. If he's going fast, the halyard's going fast.
Don't hold them up.
Well, if you just push our crew, they got.
Yeah. No, he's doing the best he can. So yeah, just follow his lead. He's not trying to go slow.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's got a lot of sail to pull in. Yeah. Yeah. Back up. Oh, you can do it again. Want to do it right this time again?
Oh, I thought we were doing it again.
Do you have a little Velcro you put your halyard in usually?
Correct, right here, it goes right through the ring right here.
You can do that too, Kevin.
Yeah.
And we just kind of soft set the halyard, then just snug it a little bit, you know, not enough to pull it out of the bag.
And it doesn't get in the way of the Screecher if you're doing.
Correct,
Okay.
We normally blow bring the tack in first and then bring it to feel like we got more control over.
Well, you have more control, but here's what goes wrong. That big funnel of cloth can spin, and believe me, the next weather mark, you're going to hate the fact he did that because it might go up in a big twisted mess. The way he did it, walking down the leach, guarantee it's not, there's no twist in that
Pull
bag.
the whole leash down on one.
You don't have to rebag it going upwind, it's already rebagged. You don't have to double check your work, you're done. Put in the bag, you're ready to go.
Rory was asking about whether the spin halyard gets in the way going upwind. Notice my Screecher halyard, the yellow line over here, is tied down the same way, and we've had that tied down for windward, leeward, and Spinnaker hoist, and it doesn't tend to get in the way.
So in general, I would say this boat is ass backwards. What I would usually do is assume that you're doing some buoy racing, and you're going around the marks, leaving the marks support, so you take a left turns all day. So what I usually do is set it up so the Spinnakers, everything's on that side, Screecher's on this side. If you have to do a windward drop on the Spinnaker, I don't care. I want to have it be on the leeward side for the next windward mark. So I would put the Screecher always religiously on the starboard with the halyard, the storage, the bag, the sheets, whatever. Everything stays starboard. The Spinnaker always on the port. And I think you're going to find a buoy racing that it's no problem to hoist the Screecher on the windward side, but you're not going to want to go around the windward mark and never try to hoist the Spinnaker on the windward side. So that's why I always put it in that way. So
Is it just to keep them separated, one on either
so
side?
then the crew at day or night, you know where everything is. If you start switching back and forth, there's all kinds of things that tend to go wrong. So I'm kind of a simplistic guy that way, or routine sort of guy. You know, if everybody assumes the tack line's always here and the Spinnaker bag's always here, it takes away a lot of the tangles that happen.
No, but the reason that you have spin and Screecher on opposite sides is just
A
so that
separation.
they're opposite sides?
Right. Yeah. If they've got both on the same side, boy, you got all kinds of things on top of each other.
You guys have room, but in our little dinghy,
Yeah.
you just run out of real estate to put
That's
everything.
real quick.
Well, our bowman doesn't like to go back and forth. He wants to stay
Oh, well, yeah, that's
To do 90%
personnel
of the
issue.
Okay, well, we've got the whole crowd here, but let's
right on the bag,
put
and I
that
was
to
wondering
bed. We're
if
done with
having enough gears
the hoist and the drop. Let's just go walk through his boat real briefly, just maybe it's a learning thing. See, he's got one of the boats that are really set up well for actually getting positive mast rotation. So downwind, he can pull the black line here and really whale this puppy around. A lot of guys only have a center pull and they don't have a good hardware system to get downwind rotation, but I think we've learned pretty well on the water yesterday on the Talk that we need a lot of rotation downwind, that a regular, if you just had this the center one only, it doesn't rotate enough.
Go with the white, Andy. That's our downwind.
Yep, that's right. There you go. Yep, here we go. This one got. There we go.
That may not go all the way.
Does it actually work?
It does.
I assume it works. Yeah.
It's a prototype. We're still experimenting.
Okay, this was I think I tried to describe, but it doesn't work on my little cartoons. You're seeing the leeward shroud wrap up, and he's trying to get, let's just call it 90 degrees rotation. He can only get 55 degrees rotation because he had his shrouds kind of snug, but as the mast rotates, that leeward shroud wraps around the leeward side of the mast up there and tries to tighten the shroud 3 inches or whatever the number is, and it won't stretch 3 inches, so he can't rotate the mast, so he can't go downwind right now. So really what that's telling me is he's got to have a little bit of slack in his shroud, especially in this real light air where there's not wind loading to loosen the leeward shroud. He'd probably want to loosen that an inch or two so that the mast will actually rotate, so he can actually get mainsail flow downwind because his mast is rotated properly. Right now, I see that as kind of he wouldn't be able to sail properly downwind.
Do you guys have a secret about remembering to release the rotator when you jibe?
Do you have a secret for that, or is it just something you do?
Just something, I guess
Yeah,
I
we
could
can-
answer, it's just
All right,
something.
because
We all
like
look at it
I
and mention
routinely
it.
forget it.
Yeah.
The way we do it is that as soon as they start talking about a jibe,
You release the
release
rotation.
it.
Right.
And we definitely announce rotator off.
No, I get it.
And another Ray actually has brake cleats. We have cleats that if we forget, they break
Oh, that's good.
and release.
Yeah, this,
I strap out of my back.
Is that
Because
a
we
sit-
could never remember.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
And it can be redone. It's not like a.
It's a brake cleat that you re-snap down and they lock back in
Oh,
again.
interesting. Okay.
They're used typically for
For
rudders
tillage,
on smaller boats.
Oh, okay.
it's a jam.
It's a brake cleat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of beach cats have it
We
on
just
their
shot
rotors, so
Tater.
that-
Oh, right there. That's what I'm saying.
No,
let's
I
just
don't
say
think
yesterday,
he's got one.
20 ton hour, we got the
Looks like
crowd
standard
we
jam.
can get them.
Yeah, okay.
And load it up and release it today. So it gets over 10 hours. And that's good. The boat overall will perform better in all cases or just comes with the rotator downwind.
Okay, let's talk about that. So shroud tension has nothing to do with forestay tension. You can prove that when you're going upwind, the leeward shroud's always loose. So the tension you have of the dock has nothing to do with
Oh, yeah.
the jib shape. Okay, so
Right.
let's make that. Some boats they talk about, they think of them like backstays where, oh, tighten the shrouds to tighten the forestay.
Yeah.
That works at the dock, but not when you're out on the water.
Right.
Because that one's going to be loose. The leeward one's loose. So
And I mean, we set them tight on the water,
Yeah.
fully loaded.
Right.
Date yesterday.
yeah, so I'm a performance guy. I'm only going to answer just for how to make the boat go fast.
Thank you.
And right now we found out he can't go fast downwind because the shroud's too tight because he can't rotate the mast. You don't rotate the mast, the mainsail telltales don't work. He's going slow.
Yeah.
Okay, so my whole thing is super tight shrouds don't make you go super fast. They actually make you go super slow in light air. So you only want it as tight as you can get them and still rotate the mast. So that's really what you're looking for.
And if you're using positive rotation to rotate the mast and you have the shrouds too tight, that it wouldn't have rotated without the positive rotator.
No, definitely not.
Then the shrouds are too tight.
Yeah,
Still.
Right, exactly. So he had a 2-to-1 and a 40-to-1, and he can't get anywhere near the right rotation.
Oh, okay.
He's got him on a winch. I mean,
Yeah.
So that's just a shroud problem. It's not
Yeah.
a hardware problem.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying the shrouds are your limiting factor to going fast downwind if you can't rotate.
And if we can rotate it, to 90 with positive rotation, then we don't need to loosen the shrouds.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Right. Twisting the 2-to-1 halyard up at the very top of the Screecher. So what you want to do is be very careful that you're not pulling the line each day and getting twists in the halyard. So one nice thing is when it is up, you can take this red halyard after it's up and throw it overboard. And let it untwirl any turns in the halyard as much as possible. Because if you have a lot more than that amount of twists, it can really cause a problem with friction trying to get it up or down. So you really don't want to have the halyard to have, an inherent twist in it. Okay, and the next big thing for performance is the actual halyard. We don't just pull it up tight. We pull it so tight that this forestay can actually have to move. It still has a lot of tension on it. I can move it a little bit, but I want this to be not just loose, but pretty damn loose, because that whole mechanism of the bobstay, the torsion rope, the sail, it's all going to stretch. If it stretches an inch or two and this starts taking the tension, that's going to sag like crazy and affect performance. So I want to have them always wind the Screecher hard until this is actually a joke, loose. And then it's probably going to be about right when you're sailing. So that's step one in terms of performance, is the actual initial halyard.
So how loose? So let us know when we get there.
It's getting close. There you go. That's more like it like that. It's kind of a joke. Right, you got it.
Great, thank you.
And you can test yourself when you go sailing. I don't know how much is this going to stretch in the real world, but if this starts to take a load, stop. Retighten the halyard. Because the halyard stretches, the torsion rope stretches, the bobstay stretches.
We also.
If it ever stretches so much that the headstay takes any load, you're taking away from the load you want on the Screecher. So the Screecher should be your forestay, not the regular headstay.
And we always like blow our main sheet when we set tension to.
Make
Is
it
that
easy for you.
okay?
Or when the Spinnaker's up.
You don't push. Well, when the spin's up, it's already pulling the rig
Yeah,
forward,
that's right.
so it's
That's
easy to get your
easy.
tension.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But put a mark on your sheet, on the halyard,
Yeah.
so you can duplicate it at night or day or whatever.
Okay.
You don't have to think too much. But that's basically what you want. So step two, we're going to unroll the Screecher and we're going to look and make sure that the torsion rope is the head stay and not the sail cloth. So it's going to be another adjustment. So let's do that now.
Got some salt water in there still, maybe.
So by that I mean the cloth should be, I think I said on the board, a little baby wrinkle. So right now you see like a vertical wrinkle. That means the cloth is actually part of what is head stay. But it's a very light sail, it's a Screecher, and you can't have that cloth. You can't expect that to be your head stay. You want the only thing tight is the torsion rope inside the sail. Not if you're hanging the mast and everything on that lightweight cloth. Give me a break. It's not going to work. So the idea here is we need to readjust the lashing such that the sail's loose, the torsion rope's tight. Right now they're both tight, and that's not what you want. So for proper tuning, we got to go ahead and open that baby up and relax it. So we want the cloth loose, the torsion rope tight. If you see a vertical wrinkle, that's when it's wrong. I want to see little baby horizontal wrinkles, like you didn't quite pull the luff tension enough, and that's probably about right. Okay. So. The why is that having the luff that tension, you can actually blow the seams, you know, the structural problem, but also just from a performance issue, you know, it's kind of a light air sail, so you don't want to have it with that vertical wrinkle pulling a knuckle, like we talked about Spinnakers and everything else, but you can still do that on a Screecher by having a real round entry because of that excessive, crazy tight luff. So you want to have it just be kind of a nice smooth entry shape-wise, and that's what we're going to get when we ease that baby off and let the cloth tension not be the forestay. But while she's playing with that, let's go ahead and talk about the back of the bus. So this is our jib lead. Why don't you set it up your normal way, and then we'll go from there. Going upwind.
Yeah, so we cross sheet to the port side when we're on port.
So they wrapped it around the winch the wrong way, and then the
No pressure, Jason.
yeah, no pressure. And then he's using the wrong winch because we want to use that winch for the lazy sheet. So that should be on that winch. There we go. We want to leave that winch spare. That's going to be our barber hole. That's going to set the lead in and out. So the primary sheet is right here, the leeward winch. And you sheet it into whatever it's. Pull another foot, just pull a little bit tight, go out there. There we go. And then we don't have the wind pressure, but if we did, that clue is going to go out toward the deck joint, the gunnel, or whatever you want to call it. You want to have a little, this is a poor man's barber hauler. Just use what's already there. Don't buy any hardware at West Marine. Just pull that in a touch. There you go. And you can just pull that clue in X number of inches until you can do that 90-degree tack. If you have it on the gunnel, you might sail all day and I can't get better than 100, my Screecher doesn't point. Well, pull the lazy sheet in and get that extra 5 degrees on each side so you can tack at the 90. That's kind of what we're trying to do with this little tweaker, just to pull it in a little bit so the boat can tack at 90 degrees. That's our little.
But depending on that geometry, I mean, couldn't you end up just with a fuller kind of, well, it's going to give the sail more shape if that tweaker is further forward.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So I mean, depending on the geometry, it may or may not help.
Right. Every boat's different, but the report card is your 90-degree tack. So whatever your boat is, you're going to play around with these things until you get the luff breaking evenly, meaning your 4.5 lead is proper, and you're going to pull in and out just until you can get from 100 down to 95 to 90. End of story. Tacking angle's perfect. Whatever your boat makes you do, that's your answer.
And is one of the things that it might make you do is release some of the active sheet to let that be longer to pull the clue in?
Right. I mean, they're
Right.
kind of working together a little
Right.
bit.
Yep. Okay.
They're not completely independent, but basically this is the in and out, and that's the flat and full.
Yeah.
The sheet. Question?
Do you ever need a downhaul to sort of change the way the luff is breaking?
Nope. We're just gonna move the lead 4.5. So I think he's got Some people pull it. Yeah, this one's that little pink line that goes vertical. You can make that longer or shorter. That's how he does his lead. Some boats have tracks, fore and aft, but the main thing is look at the sail, head up slowly into the wind. I want it to break even. I want no excessive twist in the top, which would mean a luffing top. You want the whole sail to break evenly so the entire sail, top to bottom, is working together. So that's the fore and aft. The in and out is just, you have to do a few tacks until you get your magic 90. So whatever that is, then you know where to put the clue each time, inboard, outboard. So those are the two aspects of getting the Screecher working right. I want to make sure the torsion rope is the forestay, not the cloth. And that's your performance answer on getting that dialed in. So you're close to that, probably.
Yeah, I gotta get a little more.
Anyway, but no big deal. But you get the concept. As far as duplication of what we just talked about, I think the inboard outboard is pretty easy. You can look at the little blue line in the cabin or the window, or put a little mark on there for the inboard outboard. Once you get your 90 degrees, put a mark on there. But the actual sheet is the one that you also want to do. And like I said, you can't really see it here too well, but usually it's pretty far off the spreader, so it's hard to estimate 10 inches or 11. It's easy to go 2 or 3 on a jib. So I usually use a different mechanism to duplicate Screecher settings on the sheet. And actually, where the foot crosses this beam is actually a pretty good one, believe it or not. Once you get it and you like it, you do your 90-degree tack, got the lead right and the sheet looks right. You put a little black mark on your beam and just sheet the foot in tighter, stop right there each time you tack. And that's a pretty good way of doing it too. But if your boat, for some reason, the Screecher's close to the spreader, you can go jib method, just count in inches, how many inches off the spreader. But the main thing is duplication from tack to tack, so you get it all set up and you do all your stuff to get the 90-degree tack. You want to not have to think about it the next weekend, the next race, the next weather leg. You want to know exactly how to set it up for upwind. Okay, so then the other thing we can walk through is pretty straightforward, but we're going to do a little verbal and mechanical walk through the silent tack. So the basic idea is we're on port tack. Let's say the wind is true wind, it's 45 degrees off the bow. We're going to do a 90-degree tack. Head this way. The first 45 degrees, we're just arms get longer, constant pressure on the tiller until you get to hopefully head to wind. And that was kind of the jib talk, and then you're just like a statue until you get to the new side, and then you straighten your arm out and off you go. But the reality in the Screecher, a little bit of a change in that skipper's mechanics of the tiller is that he is actually not dictated by where he wants to go. He's dictated by how fast the crew is actually rolling the sail up. So he wants to have the boat turn the 45 degrees, in other words, head to wind, when this clue gets rolled up to the forestay. If he's turning too fast, he's going to be on the new tack on starboard, and the Screecher's still on the wrong side of the forestay, and there's no smooth jib for it to slide around. It's going to blow right through here and be all kinds of friction on the forestay, and it's really hard to get the sheet around and even to roll it because you're fighting a lot of friction. So the driver's timing is dictated by the roller furler's speed to get the clue to the forestay. When the clue hits the forestay, that's when the driver, if he did it right, is head to wind. At that point, he doesn't turn really fast the second half. The clue is so easy to pull once you're past head to wind. It's just luffing, and you just pull it in. There's no sail wind load on the sail at all. You can pull it in by hand and get it, I don't know, 90% of the way in, easy. And then the driver completes the full 45, hopefully right when the clue is at that sheeted in hand pressure and you're sailing. Then you can have the wind channel preset. You grind it in slowly up to your little mark on the beam, and you're up to full speed. And the travelers come in hopefully during that period. But that's the real critical timing for the driver and crew to work together. And it's usually the crew dictating the speed of the turn, not the driver. So that's any questions on the silent tack with the Screecher? That's the fast way of doing it.
Looking for when the Screecher crosses the forestay, and sometimes the crew, because the skipper has to have their head off the boat sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Then sometimes the crew will say, clear.
Yeah, right. You can do some verbals too, but that's the main thing. Head to wind is when you want to have that clue be right at the forestay, because then you've got 45 degrees of time, so to speak, to get that clue all the way back here, and then you can sheet it in by hand, and it doesn't fill prematurely, and you're grinding in 10 feet of sheet. It's all easy. So it's all about timing between the driver and the crew to make it a fun tack or a pain in the butt.
I think one of the things that we found, so to help us make a fast tack on the Screecher is there seems to be a tendency of like controlling the sheet as you roll it, and that doesn't work.
No.
You have to you have to commit to blowing, just get it off the winch, let it go out there, and then you can furl it fast. And then, yeah, because if you're sitting there trying to control it,
You can leave one wrap on the winch. Yeah, it's really bad.
It can't be on a winch.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, you gotta let it all go. Any other issues everybody's had with Screechers that with it? Let's just say you wanted to go through that transition of the wind got up above 7. You can actually raise the jib, the Screecher up. It doesn't work too well. Short term, no problem. Get the jib up first, and roll the Screecher. And the beauty of the Screecher is, if you follow my advice, Spinnaker's always on the port side and the Screecher's always on that side. It's super easy to have that tube when it's rolled to drop on whatever side you want. So if you want to drop to windward after it's fully rolled, that side's the windward in other words, you'd pull the lazy sheet, and as the halyards ease off on the Screecher, you'd pull that back to the trampoline. Nobody has to run up to the pole or the forestay to pull the Screecher down. Now if it's the windward side, the Screecher's trying to blow to leeward. So what you want to do is ease the halyard just a little bit so it sags just until that sausage of rolled up Screecher gets just so it overlaps the forestay by about a foot. Don't look, lose some 10 feet of halyard because the Screecher will be way back here. It's hard to get it around the forestay to the windward side if you're doing a windward drop. So it's just got just enough curve so it's just behind the forestay. Then you can yank on that windward sheet and you can flop it to the windward side. Then you just let it down. It'll go on the windward side of the jib. It comes down super easy. Keep it being too much of a fore deck on the tip of the bow.
Then there's the conversation of what about Randy? What about rounding the mark? You
Wasn't that easy? No wind at twice as easy. Yeah. Way to go. Okay, what was your question? Sorry.
what about rounding the mark?
Okay, so let's say let's pick a situation. We got going downwind mark, and we want to go upwind. So we're gonna switch from a Spinnaker to the Screecher. If it's a short course, you can just leave the Screecher up. It's not a big deal. But if you're really racing anything long distance, all the windage of that rolled up sausage is not making you go fast. So if you're longer race, the Screecher will be down. You have to hoist it, whale it higher until the head stays totally loose, like we talked about, and then it's ready to do all the normal Spinnaker stuff. Get it all in your positions. But when the driver goes dead downwind, you have one more stage. It's like unroll the Screecher. And if you do it early, the Spinnaker's going to collapse. That's why you wait till the turn to unroll your Screecher. So you're full Spinnaker, sailing, steering telltale. There's no jib, it's super light air. And the main, you're just sailing full speed. You're going to turn down from the imaginary mark to the real mark. You're going dead downwind. Pull the Screecher sheet in, have it at least at 90% sheeted, cleat it, so it's over trimmed, but it's not going to fill anyway. You're going dead downwind. And now you're going to pull the Spinnaker down on the opposite side here if you're taking a port rounding. Spinnaker comes down, bag boy, girl gets in the bag, turn the mark. That one person can control the sail that's maybe not fully bagged, but they're on the windward side of the boat, all good. They're dry, their sail's dry, the Spinnaker's not in the water, and the third crew's just pulling in the last 10% of the Screecher as you go around the lure mark and you head upwind. So that's kind of the procedure of the switch from Spinnaker to Screecher. Down there.
We've done it a bit.
What's that?
Sometimes we'll do it a bit more ugly, where we'll put the jib up with the spin, then drop the spin, fly with the jib, then put the Screecher up, and then drop the jib, which is a lot.
In fact, it takes so long to say that you can see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think yeah, just forget about the jib.
Just because that way you have if you've only got 3 on the boat, and if you require 2 for dropping the spin.
Sort of like driving, and when you're pushing the tiller over really hard, you have to learn to do it differently.
Yeah.
You picked up a few tips here. You've been a little bit aggressive on the tiller. Good. That's why
I'm sure
you're
that
here.
hurt watching. I'm sure that really hurt you watching.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that's Screecher, that's Spinnaker. Screecher upwind to Spinnaker downwind.
Right.
Yeah, it's actually kind of nice because the Screecher makes a great blanket to keep the Spinnaker away from the magic triangle. And you can hoist the Spinnaker real fast behind the Screecher, but what you want to realize is that once the halyard's up, the tack's up, the sheet's up, the Spinnaker's up, it's doing nothing. The Screecher ruins it. It won't fill. So if you want to hoist with the Screecher still sheeted, well, once the 3 corners are separated, roll the Screecher immediately, then it'll fill. But don't roll early because it just makes it a little harder to get the chute up. The Screecher really is an asset for a quick Spinnaker hoist going around that weather mark.
And how tight do you have the Screecher going as you're rounding? Are you
Well, if you're going around a weather mark and an offset mark, you've already eased the Screecher out for the reefs. So if you're done with that, just leave it right there and just make the turn and let it stall. But it's just a nice air blanket to raise the Spinnaker behind it. If you're going around a weather mark, no offset, just a big turn. You're going to want to ease the main, the traveler as usual, but also the Screecher sheet. So you actually sail that first part of the turn at high speed, and then once you let it out, it starts to stall. Just cleat it. Don't worry about it. Then you're in the hoist mode when the apparent wind drops. And Spinnaker goes up, 3 corners separated, then you roll. It'll pop full and off you go.
Is there any trick to the spin sheets? Because we have 10 inches between the tack and the other tack.
Oh, small.
The spin sheet getting fouled up in the drum, is that a concern?
Yeah, when you're actually sailing, let's just say we're on starboard tack, you got the big old Spinnaker up, and you got the rolled up Screecher a foot away, just kind of a tight. You want to have the lazy sheet with a little bit of tension, so it's not falling down below the drum and getting between the drum and the pole. You want it to be just kind of wrapping around the actual rolled up sausage of the Screecher, so you can drive at will. And if it's not like that, if you notice it in time, you can kind of flip it. Make sure you get it above the drum. Yeah.
Your son Kevin on the spread.
Oh, you can do that too. Yeah. There you go. You've been there, done that. Right.
Not as well as Vanna.
You want to see that one more time?
I do need to put it back up anyway to get that fluff tension better, but.
Question?
You make some comments on rig setup, mast rake. Seems like these faster boats run a lot more rake than we tend to. And I had a sailor on my boat one time, and it was really light wind like today, and the boat seemed to hobby horse a lot. And he said if we tighten the forestay, that might eliminate some of that. I don't understand that concept.
Well, I kind of cheat. I have this really expensive computer on my boat that calculates a lot of things. It's called the tiller.
Okay.
So if it's in the center, you got neutral helm. And if it's off to windward, you got windward helm. And believe it or not, if it's to leeward, you got leeward helm. So if you put a little black mark in the center, that's a very expensive instrument that's giving me lots of information to answer exactly your question. So if you are going upwind, main and jib, that's your worst possible scenario for weather helm. You got the big main and the little jib, right? So all your center of effort is aft, well aft of the dagger board, obviously. It's back here somewhere. So you're loaded the board and the rudder. If they're loaded equally, the tiller's going to line up and have a little black mark, neutral helm. But it probably isn't, because this is the most windward loaded sail configuration this boat has. But you can live with 2-3 degrees or so of windward helm. So the rudder's working a little harder than the dagger board, no problem. That's fine, because you know you're going to have lee helm problems with Spinnakers and Screechers. If you have 5 degrees or more of weather helm in your main and jib configuration, that's the red flag in my book, where I would rake the whole mast forward a little bit, move the center of effort, that little dot of the combined main and jib forward to reduce the windward helm to 2 or 3 degrees off center line. If I had neutral or leeward helm, that's actually kind of a red flag in my book for main and jib, because I know once I put the Spinnaker up with the Screecher up, I'm going to have excessive leeward helm. So I like to set my boat up with actually about 2 or 3 degrees of windward helm, main and jib, with my mast brake adjustment, so that I know that I'm getting hopefully neutral with the Screecher, and maybe with the giant Spinnaker, touch a lee helm, but downwind I don't care about a little bit of lee helm. But I don't want excessive lee helm, because then we all know the rudder is biting the board, and that's not too big an issue off the wind, but upwind it's a huge issue because your board's too small with the slow speed you're going, and you can actually stall the board if you try to have that board which is being fought by the rudder, which is the one surface of the boat that's trying to keep all these huge sails from pushing you sideways. So that's how I answer, is with that little black line on the deck back there on the tiller. So don't talk to other people what they do on their boat. That's your boat, your black mark. That's your answer. So don't. If somebody else has a bunch of mast brake, that has nothing to do with you. The black mark is all about you, or your boat, your setup, your sail shape, and whatever you happen to have. That's your answer. Yeah, steering through waves. Yeah, basically, let's just say we're getting a relatively smooth day, and a giant powerboat comes by, and that's a good example of some more large waves at one moment, or sometimes even regular sailing. You go, oh wow, here's a section of bigger waves. The two things you do in that is you scan the horizon so you see it. Number two is you increase, if you're going, pick a number, 7 knots, put the bow down and get the thing going 7 1/4 or 7 1/2. So you have a little extra momentum to get through those waves, because you know what's going to happen. The boat's going to start pitching, it's going to slow down to 5 knots. Apparent wind goes down, and it's hard to get this turkey going back up to your 7 knot speed, whatever you were. So acceleration before the pub, put it down, do the ice boat thing, get both telltales flowing back, break all my rules, get your speed up. You're not at 90 degrees tacking angle anymore, but you don't care. You want to hit those waves with some excessive speed, so when you come out the backside, you're not too much slower than 7, and you can get back to your normal deal. That'd be the wave pattern problem. If you're looking at a whole different world, which is ocean, large swells, that kind of a wave, where it's not just a series of, waves that slow you down, you're actually going to find that the steering telltale, if you kind of watch it, it's probably going to tell you what to do. So you're going to slow down coming up the wave. What happens when you slow down? You're slow, the wind speed's the same, let's say. So the leeward telltale is going to tell you to kind of come up a little bit and follow that. And then you come out on the backside, you're going to go downhill, the boat's going to speed up, the sail's going to luff. So, the telltale will tell you to head off. So if you follow the telltales, it'll probably be a pretty good steering device even in big waves. The little short one's the one you have to arbitrarily just do the bow down, break some rules, and get your speed up. But I think if you follow that steering telltale, it's going to be a pretty accurate steering method there.
And how about downwind?
Downwind's kind of fun. So you've got, if in the static world we've been fantasizing about with how we set up the thing and nobody touches anything, you just steer by the steering telltale with the Spinnaker. As you all know, the real world, there are these things called waves, and the problem is when you go down, you speed up, the parent wind goes forward, the Spinnaker collapses, and oh, Randy told me not to touch the sheet, so I'm not. If your Spinnaker collapsed, you're not a very good helmsman. The real world is, that's when the trimmer actually trims, because you can't steer fast enough to adjust for that speed change, which is the parent wind change. Even though you know that Spinnaker's getting that curl in the luff, you got to grind the handle and make up for the fact the boat can't turn that sharp. So there are obviously times where the trimmer's making up for it, and that's where, in that situation, you got to have communication. The trimmer can't just trim it and get rid of the curl, and the skipper maybe doesn't know you've pulled in 2 feet of sheet, and you'll start sailing hot because the sheet's in tight, and then it'll happen again, it'll curl, and you'll pull in another foot or so, and pretty soon you're on a beam reach, and you go, wait a minute, the mark's over there. So that's the communication loop that the trimmer needs to tell the driver, okay, we're a foot over trim, I'm going to try to ease out, and then they can sort of head down together, ease sheet as you're heading back down to your magic 90-degree jibe angle setting. Yep.
The continuation of this on heavy chop, so if you've got wind against current,
are you changing anything you're doing or leaving it the same?
Okay, the way to think about it is like that green grass you're standing on. Think of a big bit of water, like a piece of carpet. If I could pull it toward me, that's the current. Can anybody? I mean, the wind is going to be steady in that steady current. So who cares if there's current? The boat doesn't really know. So if obviously the wind, if it's blowing 10 and you're going this way, it feel like it's blowing 12, but who cares? It feels like it's blowing 12. So the current really isn't anything you can do. The whole carpet's moving, or whatever.
So no adjustment for the heavier chop.
No, the chop's a different answer.
I'm just saying the
chop
example,
definitely.
when you have the current against the wind,
You get
fills
chop,
the chop.
Right.
What do you do then?
Yeah, so you're probably going to break some of my rules. So you're going to find that if you're doing my 90-degree tacking angle, which is what probably works for your boat in the normal waves, and you got this crazy short chop because the current's against the wind, you're going to need to put the bow down and change it to 95, maybe even 100 degrees to get anything reasonable in terms of speed, because you need to kind of power through the waves. If it's for whatever reason, maybe the tide's in the same direction as the wind, maybe there's the waves are almost non-existent, but it's going 12, 14 knots. Oh, you can probably tack at 85 degrees and still have your nice high speed. So there are changes to that, 90 degrees and 1,000%, every day, all the time. So those would be the two instances where you might change your golden rule of the 90. Yep.
Screecher with the jib. When are you sailing with this jib with the Screecher?
So you want to sail with a Screecher and the jib anytime the jib actually works. So upwind it does not work.
Yep.
Beam reach it does work. Then the question is, does it work at 60 degrees, 70, 50? The jib will talk to you. So if you had the Screecher up right now and we're going on a X reach angle, go ahead, put the jib up. If the whole thing fills and but it's sheeted pretty tight, it's working. If the front foot is luffing or the front 2 feet's luffing, no, just drop it. So that'll tell you right away, yes, no answer to your question. Yep.
Different topic, but can you talk a little bit about mast bend and specifically mast falling off to lure in the tide?
Yeah, the mast is inherently a wing, so it's 10 inches by 4, so it's structurally way strong in the 10-inch direction, and okay in the 4. So they have to design the mast so that the 4-inch dimension doesn't break. So the 10-inch is way too strong. So a lot of these wing type sections, we don't talk too much about mast bend because guess what? It's hard to bend 10 inches more than an inch or so. So some other boats have more noodly masts that you could play that game a lot with. But your other question is probably worth addressing for sure, which is the top of the mast, the tip falling off the leeward. Generally, if you have the mast if you hadn't been to the clinic, you might not have enough mast rotation and you'll probably witness the tip falling off. But if we're kind of following what we learned on the discussions with the rotator kind of bearing into the leeward side of the main, you don't have a 4-inch mast. When you rotate it for that side axis, you have maybe it's not 90 degrees, you don't have a 10-inch mast, but you have about a 5 or 6-inch mast. It starts as you rotate, it gets stronger sideways, right? If you pull all the way to 0, you only have the 4-inch mast. If you had a mast at Spinnaker, it might actually be kind of flexy. So sometimes you can cure that right away by just adding a little bit of rotation, and your mast inherently gets stronger from that direction of pull. So you probably didn't have enough rotation if you're experiencing that.
Andy, one thing that, let's say if you want to talk about it now, but one of the things we ran into here was that US Sailing had put in that on these races like Chicago and Bayview and these coastal races, that you had to have a 50% reef on these sails. And I know we got that changed to 30%, but a lot of that was some of what you came up with. I don't know if you want to talk about that for a moment, that third reef versus the second reef, or we can push that till tonight.
Yeah, we haven't talked about high wind because it's so abstract standing here in no wind, but we can try to get your enthusiasm up here. But basically, I don't know, I was on a little F-25 just like this, racing up Wandapuha by Seattle. It's a famous race. It doesn't just go out to the Pacific Ocean and turn back. It actually has huge tidal influxes in and out of there, and there's actually kind of a standing wave almost when the tide changes and you're sailing along in kind of light air, and then the new current's coming in, and somehow or another the friction of the water current and the air, all of a sudden it's blowing 10, now it's blowing 25. I don't know quite why all this happens, but who cares? Anyway, so on our left 25, we're just going upwind, main and jib, everything's pretty good, and it's, 10 to 12 knots of wind, and all of a sudden, whoa, look up there, breaking waves, and you see the boats ahead in previous classes with monohulls, leaning way over. Looks pretty windy to me. So we popped in a reef, thinking, okay, reef, main, and jib, the single reef. Who knows how windy it is? And oh man, it is windy up here. So instead of doing what most people will do, pop in the second reef, we said, let's just drop the entire jib and go unirig. So we dropped the entire jib and just went main and jib, or main only, with a single reef. And boy, that thing was like trucking along pretty good. And then it got even windier, and go, oh man, now what do we do? So we kind of paid our dues and doing the second reef. And the boat was just so sweet. It's going 30 something, I don't know, but it was like hardly any sail area up there. It's amazing how little you need when it's that windy. And most people they don't shorten down enough sail when it's that windy. So always all upwind. We're just going upwind. Yeah, it's an upwind course. But that's something most people don't even consider, is you can actually, instead of having to, like Steve was talking about, super deep main reef, just drop the entire jib. So what happens is your center of effort's moving forward. We need to chop off the back of the leech by reefing the main, and then that moves the center of effort forward, and then you've got to drop the travelers, and the main's only kind of half working. The center of effort goes forward. You can actually drop the main, and as long as you keep on rolling, it steers pretty good. It's a great way to get through a lot of, like a squall. That sort of thing.
I think the challenge was that, again, you have a second reef where most of these are at 30%. The issue is going to 50, a third reef that some of the guys were trying to put in. And these boats weren't designed for that.
Well, the Mast isn't designed for it. You see where the hounds are, they're way up, way beyond 3/4 of the way up the mast. So if the head of the reef is, in this case, between the spreaders and the hounds, let's say, there is no forestay and the mast is rotated. She actually has some intermediate diamonds in there. Most people don't have that. So we had some like Seacar 30s and some of the Corsairs had super deep reefs, and when you're pulling on that section of the mast between the spreaders and the hounds with the head of the deep reef main, the mast breaks. This one might be okay because he's got those little intermediates up there, but most people don't have those little baby wires halfway between those two. And so a lot of the trimarans, that's not where you want the head of the sail when you're reefed and it's blowing 40. Is right there.
I think the advice that we gave it, nothing says you can't do a 50%, but the advice is you better make sure your mast manufacturer and designer can support it.
Right, back you up on that. Yeah. And I don't know, just like a quick story. I won't get into this, but we're just doing the Chicago Mac on the left 25C. Kind of a crazy guy. Anyway, we're sailing along, and the monohulls on the big boats ahead of us. Middle of the night, of course. All you do is the squall hits, and I start seeing they had some spreader lights on because we're doing foredeck work, and I go, that's kind of weird. And I see this spreader lights hitting the water. I go, I think that's probably pretty windy up there when a monohull that's like 50, 60 feet long is putting the spreaders in the water. Maybe we shouldn't reef. Let's get everything down. So we dropped all sails, and I don't know what it was, but we had only the mast, and you can actually think of the mast as a pretty good sail when it's that windy. I mean, you don't need much. We'd rotate the mast, but I mean, it got so crazy windy, the mast was like shaking crazy. I'm going, it's going to jump right off that little step. I mean, it was like, I don't know, hurricane force, whatever it was, but it was way beyond your normal 35 windy day. It's like, whoa, what's fine? This thing's coming down, But we got through the little puff, but you can actually sail pretty well with a mast, especially if you're not trying to go straight upwind. Just kind of crack it off, and you can go pretty fast with just rotating the mast like it's a sail. That'll save you to have at least steerage and control to get through that. It was only 15 minutes, but it could have been a swimming lesson too.
So we have some time planned tonight after dinner to talk some more and ask some more